Well. Good morning. It's Coffee Talk. How are you, Laura?
I'm great. How are you today, Ree?
I'm doing excellent. Excited to hang out with Melissa Hoffman today.
I am too.
Welcome to Coffee Talk. We are brought to you by the International Dance Entrepreneurs Association, an organization with a focus on studio ownership, helping to build businesses to be the best that they can be, encouraging teachers to bring to the community what they do best, and encouraging teachers and studio owners to appreciate this art that we all pass on to the next generation. You can learn more about IDEA at ideadance.org. Also, those of you that are viewing, please let us know who you are, where you're from in the comments. I'll share them on the screen. So, Laura, what'd you do over the weekend?
We just wrapped up our last competition of the season. It was a great weekend. I say it's like a very successful weekend when everyone leaves happy. No tears. Everyone's happy. Everyone left on like a high. It was very well run. Great schedule. We unfortunately were dancing on Mother's Day, but that's just how the cookie crumbled this year. I try to work around a lot of proms, and we pull from so many districts that proms were just everywhere in May and June. So it was like, well, sorry, moms, we're going to be hanging out, but it was good. I think the last award ceremony started at 4. So we were out of there by 5, and it was kind of yeah. And the day was split. It was like the morning were the littles. They were done by 12:30, and then the older ones came in. So yeah, it was good. It was really, really good. And like I said, everyone left happy. It was everyone's best performance, I feel like. So it was very successful season. Very successful season.
Last competition of the season for you?
Last one. My mom just said to me this morning, how does it feel? I'm like, great, but I went by fast this year.
I think the whole year. I think I'm getting old because it seems like every year goes by faster and faster. But I will tell you that, yes, it seems like we were in the registration mode 2 months ago rather than 9 months ago or whatever it has been. Time flies when you're having fun, I guess.
It's true. And like in our competitions, I spread them out. I do like a performance in February, 1 March, 1 April, 1 May. So it's not like it was like really tight together and it went fast because of that. Like I spread it out, and still I was like at the end of the weekend, like that's it. Now we're like recital season, like that chapter's closed. We're moving into like hardcore recital, and fall schedule and registration and all that craziness.
Yes. Mm-hmm. We're living the dream. That goes for us and everybody watching. When is your show?
So I go the end of June. I'm June 24th. We have 3 shows that day.
Ooh, you go a little bit later, huh?
A bit later. Yeah, that was a COVID made me do it moment. That was the only day in 2021 that I could get a theater booked. And we loved that theater. And I said, I'm sticking with it. Why not? And that's just what we do.
Great.
Yep.
Change is good. Newness. Trying things that we might not have done previously. I think that's a positive that came out of COVID.
Oh, 100%.
Lots of lessons that actually turned out to be make us better off, smarter.
Yeah. And it's interesting, Rhea. I always wanted to go. My home studio, we always had it Father's Day weekend. So a mid to late June, it was normal to me. Having it in May was like, I'm like, oh, this stinks. Well, I don't want to have it in May. Like that was never my business model. I never wanted to have it. I was just stuck within my school districts that I rent from, their rules. And then once I had to go outside of my box and look at other theaters during COVID, it was a private school, and they're like, you can have it in July if you want. Like they didn't care. They're like, you can rent it whenever you want. I'm like, well, I'm not doing July. I was like, how about June? And they're like, we have one date left in June. It was the end of June. And I tried it out and I liked it. So that's what we're doing.
I grew up with recital was always Memorial Day weekend.
Interesting. And I bet you that's just what your families know. Is it still that way at the Gold School?
I believe that this year is an exception, that it's going to be in early June because, like you, the facility that has been used for the Gold School recital since I was a kid is under renovation. So change was in the air.
It's been at the same location all that time, pretty much?
I'm going to say since I was 10.
Wow.
But wait, I'll tell you something else about that that's funny is I saw it when it shined. It first opened. It was spectacular. It was the largest auditorium in the Northeast high school auditorium. And in all those years, I saw it go down and down and down in need of what they're doing now 15 years ago.
Well, it's getting done, and I'm sure it'll be spectacular.
Yes. Yes, but I'm also, I'll just say this before we break into the next phase of coffee talk. I've learned that change is okay. Meaning, I used to feel like, oh, this has been going on for 30 years. It has to continue to go on. No, sometimes you need to move on and you'll find new, really cool things because you were forced to do that. I think that's something in life that we should be more open to.
Yeah, I agree. Because I feel like that's a good way for your business to keep moving forward.
I'm with you on that. And listen, nothing has changed. Well, something has, I'm sure, but our fields, our businesses, the curriculum that we offer has changed so dramatically in the last 20 years that when it comes to our fields, you cannot sit back and say, oh, well, it's always worked this way. This is not the time.
Nope.
And I find it exciting. It's like, what's next? Where are we going? How cool is this new thing?
Yep.
Okay, we're coming to Melissa Hoffman right after this commercial break. We'll see you on the other side. Hello, that was an abrupt ending there. Welcome, Melissa Hoffman.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Nice to be here.
Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Yes.
Pleasure.
First thing I want to say is a special gratitude because your weekend is this, your recital is this coming weekend, yes?
Yes, it is.
How many recitals are you having, Melissa?
I'm having 7 recitals, 5 on Saturday and 2 on Sunday.
It's incredible.
Yeah, dress rehearsals Thursday, Friday.
So Melissa, I'm going to jump right in because I want to talk about this. During the pandemic, you were forced to do, how many shows did you do in the parking lot of your studio?
We did 12 shows.
Wow.
12 shows. Each show had well, I could only put like 40 kids in each, like, in each show, because I could seat 400 out in the field next to my studio. So I zip tied 4 chairs together when 2020, and then would measure the 6 feet, then zip tie 4 more chairs, and so on. So each show was like it, at each show had like 5 to 7 routines in it, but we got it done. You know what was great? One of the things that actually came of it, not one crier, not one out of all the littles that I have, because their changing room was one of our studios. Then they'd be walked outside to the outdoor stage. They could see their parents because there was no light. I mean, there was lighting, but not really.
Right.
And so yeah, at the end, I looked at my teachers. I go, we had not one crier. There's usually at least 1 or 2 or 3 or 10. But
Right.
yeah.
The time and have the
Yeah, exactly. So not one. So it was interesting, and I think it was that familiarity,
Yeah.
of that, and it's given me pause to think about, do I want to?
Yeah, how did that influence how you're doing it now?
So we did that outdoor model 2 years in a row. And then when we went back into our theater, I kept it at small shows. They're a little bigger than they were. There's an average of 80 kids per show in the 5 that we do on Saturday. 80 to maybe 100, but not the normal days of 300 and 400 kids backstage.
Yeah.
And they're all under an hour. Those 5 shows are under an hour, no intermission, just under an hour.
Can I tell you, Melissa, that's how I do it too. I have 3 shows. But my first one is heavy with my maybe first or second year, like 8 and under kids.
Yep.
And then the other ones have more company level kids in the second and the third show. But my first and second show, the first one's an hour, the second one's an hour and 15, and the third one's a little more heavy on the senior kids. So that's about an hour and a half, but I love it.
You know what? To me, it was one of the best things to come out of COVID. And I know, it's interesting because I know facilities charge differently. We happen to be charged hourly. And when I compared the hours to when we went back to the old way, if we did, each of our shows were like 2.5 with an intermission. They might spread out to 3, and we did 4 of them. So hourly, I'm actually paying less money to do it this way than I did when we did these long shows. Interestingly enough, like it's one set fee, and it includes your tech guys and includes your rental of the facility and things. So it actually, there was a lot of wins in this.
Yeah.
And I know backstage, it's just faculty and alum that come to help with the kids. There's no room parents now anymore. And it's just less chaos, and it's just calm. I love calm.
And now I'm assuming too, I'm sorry, Reed, go right ahead.
No, you go, Laura, then I'll ask my question.
I'm just assuming then you have more tickets available. So if you have shorter shows, less amount of kids, still in the same big, beautiful theater, you're not saying you have to cap at 5. You want to buy 15 tickets? Go right ahead.
Yeah, I mean, you could. So the other thing that changed for me, interestingly enough, was when we did the outdoor, the first year I was given a grant by the state. And so I didn't charge anything. We just did it. And then the second year I charged, a recital fee, and it was like $90 per family to help with the rental of, I had an AV guy come in, I had stages built, whatever, to cover that. Now I stuck with that model. So now it's $125 fee. And then for each additional child, it's $15. Now everyone gets t-shirts. I didn't do everyone t-shirts before. It was you order your t-shirt. Now everyone gets a t-shirt in that fee. And now I know before we walk into the facility, I have 400 accounts on, there's 400 accounts. I know that at least $125 being charged. I know I go into that weekend already with $43,000 made. Right. Then that includes 4 tickets for them. And then they can buy additional tickets at $15. Now my tickets before COVID were $24. So now everyone's like so excited. They're getting a deal. But here's the better thing. There's no assigned seating either. When you're only putting 5 people in a facility that holds 9,
Ooh, I think we may have froze.
It froze. Yep,
Ooh.
it froze. Mm,
Let's give this a second.
yep. I think she's
Um,
talking about tickets though, Ree, that when you have like 500 people and her theater holds 900, obviously, and they can sit wherever. They're not on top of each other. They want to spread out. Like that is a nice perk of that for sure. For sure.
I really like the recital fee and it including tickets, and I feel like it's not nickeling and diming the parents.
Yeah.
I'm gonna wait and see if
Pop
Melissa.
it all back in. Yeah, no worries. No, if that's something that I was thinking about switching to eventually. I'm just again, change. It's like we went from these big long shows to little shows. How do we all feel about that? We just switched my dress rehearsal around this year. I have picture day the same time as dress rehearsal, and that was you're back, yay!
I'm back. You know what? I think I saw guys working on polls when I came in, so I think it's them bumping me out. Sorry about that. I don't
No
know.
worries.
Sorry about that.
Go ahead, finish what you were saying there, Laura.
No, I was just saying, I love that we were talking about your ticket options and how you have that availability. If you have 900 seats, but you're selling 500, then they can sit where they want. I said, change is good. I said, for me, I just had our dress rehearsal 2 weekends ago. And I always had picture day at the studio. And between you and me and the wall, I hate picture day. It's a long day. It's hot. It's all in my dance studio. And it's just no matter how I set it up and how I do it, it just doesn't, it's just weird. And it's a whole day and I can't get the schedule right. So I finally, in the space that we have the recital, we could have pictures in this huge basketball court that is just so happens in the lobby right next to, the stage. So literally we went on stage, the kid ran their numbers, we walked them right off. The gymnasium was roped off. They could get their pictures in the back. So it's interesting, like the change is good, like, so it's something I'm thinking about with like tickets and recital fees and something like that in the future.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that's like what a lot of people are moving towards, right? From what I hear in the studio owner world is like this recital fee. And then if they want more tickets, they can, but at least up front, like you're saying, what the pot is going into it from a studio owner standpoint, what that budget can be.
Exactly.
Agreed. We have a question from a viewer. Do you charge the recital fee at the start of the season or over a period of months, Melissa?
No, it actually was due for us May 1st. So yeah. But I mean, in my mind, you could do it however you wanted to do it, right? Yeah. I kind of like getting it all May 1st and then it's all there. And, the facility's
You didn't
already
have a chance to spend it on a nice trip, right?
or something else. Exactly. It's kind of, yeah, it's the way I budget.
Well, all that doesn't include any, I'm assuming, no recital costumes or anything like that. That's all. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So you know what? It includes their 4 tickets, their t-shirt, their video access, those kinds of that's it. That's what it is.
Got it.
Includes $5. And I think I froze you again, you guys. Oh, there we are.
We got you. We got you this time. We can hear you even if you're froze.
Okay. So yeah, so I think about it as before, if they bought 4 tickets at $25, that's $100 right there. And before, remember when we used to sell actual videos, right? I remember selling videos, and back in the day, they were cassettes, then they turned into CDs, and but the video guys were charging them. I didn't charge them. The video guys were charging them $55 a video back in the day. I see the question. If someone only wants 2 tickets, do you give them a discount? No. And most people don't. But what's that?
Scalp them on the corner.
Yeah.
Going down.
This is what I want to say to the person who wrote the question. Don't worry about something beforehand, meaning very few parents will ask that question to begin with, but if they were to ask it, I'd probably say actually the tickets are a bonus on top of all the other expenses that your recital fee goes
It's a good way to
towards.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
the cool thing too is, just side note, because when we do these 5 shows, oftentimes, I mean, because there's only, 14 routines in each show, let's say, the likelihood of siblings being together now is less than it would have been in 2 big shows, right? So they get those 4 tickets to both their kids, to both the shows. But again, it's no sweat off my back, because I know that fee is more than covering what we're doing and covers our summer.
Right.
It's a part of our summer.
Is it mostly your competitive kids who land in 2 shows, or do your everyday once a week student also possibly land in 2?
Well, it may not. It's not that the once a week child ends in 2 shows, but if they have a sibling, so let's say, you know what I mean? In my 3-year-old class, 5 of them have sibs, but they're all in different leveled classes. Then they're going to end up in 2 different shows. But people actually are liking it, because then the kids can see their siblings.
Ooh, that's my phone. It's
Oh.
Gio. Gio is calling me in the middle of the call.
Hi, Gio.
Really?
I should bring him in, but I'm not going to do it.
We'd be here for hours.
Yeah, I run into that too, though, Melissa, that I have, even though like I try to keep it siblings together. I mean, I have like 200, and I think I literally just did this. I just sent it out to all my people, because my show's the end of June. I'm the 24th. Yep. So I have weeks compared to other studio owners. But yeah, I have 277 families this year. And I tried, I mean, trying to put them all, you have your own, equations of how you do it. And I'm a pen and paper kind of person. So I laid it all out, and I literally got it down, I think, to 9 families will have to come to 2 shows.
That's great.
And I every time it's like a puzzle piece, and I would pull one, and I'd be like, nope, can't pull that one.
Yeah, if you pull that class, 10 of them. Yeah.
Yes. So I was like, and when they register in the fall, I tell them that, like, if there are multiple classes, they might need to be in multiple shows.
Yeah.
But I have to say, my parents have been like really, really good about that, because I mean, I just kind of put in the email, I'm like, 75% of my clientele this year either have a sibling or in multiple classes. I can't put 75% of you in one show. No. You won't get one ticket, like
right, exactly.
That's where we're at,
Exactly. And I think people, I don't know, are more understanding of that since COVID too. I mean, in theory, that's not one of the places I noticed this year that they no longer were giving you grace for. That one, they still kind of just go with the flow, I think. Yeah. Where other things now, I'm like looking at them like, you really just say that to me? Like, what happened to 2 years ago when you were all so nice? Like, yeah. And I had things for your kids to do.
Yep.
I think the world is more uptight right now than all the way through this whole thing. And I think in my head, I've decided, though I am no expert, that it's almost we made it through and everybody had to be on their top game. Yep. And now all of a sudden, when there's a chance to breathe, people are like, I'm trying to think of the right word, like the hell with it. It's like, this is rough. This life has not been easy, and people express themselves, and we're in a unique time, but staying positive.
Yes, 100%.
I want to ask you this. I may never have asked you this question before, but I always admire how much your faculty and staff and everybody look up to you and support you. Like, even during the pandemic, when you were doing the recitals, you had faculty out there with the mops sweeping the stage. And I also know from our business seminars that we've done together that you don't believe in faculty contracts or agreements.
Really? I never knew that. Wow.
So tell everybody about Tell everybody about your philosophy there, because I want to say that from the outside, I think it's envious by other people how you have so much support. Tell us about
Oh, wow, that's so sweet. I didn't know that. I wish I could say to everyone like that I knew like this is exactly how I do it, and this is exactly why it happens this way. I think there are little pieces. I'm currently on faculty. I have 4 teachers that used to be studio owners. That goes a long way.
it.
You know what I mean? Yeah,
Can
yeah.
I just say the fact that you feel confident and comfortable with that would make a lot of studio owners. I don't know.
You
Like,
know,
don't
it's
you agree? Like hiring that you'd be nervous them like stepping on your toes, but like that's an interesting dynamic that you have 4. That's
I have
crazy.
interesting, and I had 2 others that have since retired before that too. So it's yeah, I don't know why I end up being that person. I think in general I'm a person that sees gray often. So I'm really open to suggestions, and I wish now with that said, we're not always there are days I sit and I go, oh my God, we should have a staff meeting because we haven't had one in months and months. I think that, there have definitely been times that things have gotten away from me, and I have to pull everyone back in and redefine things, I guess, for lack of better words. But you know what? I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know the formula. I really, really don't know the formula, but I do know this. I don't worry about things like that, Laura. I don't go, "Ooh, it's a studio owner. Are we gonna do this?" I also don't go, "Listen, my teachers guest teach everywhere. They guest teach 2 seconds up the road. They guest teach." And my fear with the contract always was this: when I have such creative teachers on board, if I restricted them from doing choreography outside or from guest teaching outside, that's such a part of their income and
Yeah.
the reason that they're fresh all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Do I take a risk that someone will open up the street? Yeah, I suppose I do. But I also am of the thought process, I should say, of if they do, then they do. I know it's painful, and I don't mean to rub it off. Knock on wood, 34 years, it's never happened to me. It's never happened to me. And there's a piece of me that wonders, has it never happened to me because I don't have all these rules? Do you know what I mean? Like that I
Like
don't have all these
that they
restrictions.
feel right that they
Restrictions,
feel
I
the
guess.
yeah and
Yeah,
they
that doesn't mean that they don't check in and say, hey, Susie up the street wanted me to go give her kids, a modern class. She doesn't have a modern teacher. You good with that? And 9.5, 9.75 times out of 10, I'm going to be like, yeah, no problem. But listen, I was just at a comp this weekend. There were 3 studios in Hudson, New Hampshire. We were all there. And, I said to the other 2 owners, hey, a little shout out to Drew Burgess. I have Drew Burgess coming up in October for 3 days. You guys want to come take class? But that's the way we are up here. Do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna brag and jump in here and go, it's a New England thing.
Yeah.
It really is. There are sometimes when I am doing seminars and people ask questions like, would you allow a teacher to teach for someone else? Or the dance teacher wants to bring her kid to your school. What do you think of that? Just the different things that I've seen happen in New England. We wouldn't think twice about it. You'd actually act in a work to make sure it worked well, I guess is the way to say it.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
in a fear that something could go wrong.
Yeah.
Melissa, I did not know you had 4 that were studio owners. Who
Yeah.
are they? I know Sandy had her own.
Sandy, Heidi, a ballet teacher named Terry, and then oh my gosh, who's the 4th one? Another ballet teacher. Yeah. Yeah.
But you know what, Melissa, now that I kind of like thought that through, I feel like that says a lot about you. that you have these past studio owners, but really rethink about it. Like if I thought about this during COVID, like I remember I was walking down the street, my mom said to me, it was like August of 2020, and like we were able to reopen and my classes were full. Like I was very, very blessed. And my mom said, "What would you have done like if you closed?" And in my heart, I was like, that was never an option. Like I'm not never, but
Right.
in my brain, I was like, I would never go work for someone else. I would have reopened somewhere and started from the ground up again. Like
Really?
yeah, I would never have gone to work for someone else. But that says a lot that multiple studio owners respect you to
Wow.
work under you. Like and to be a part of your team. Like that says a lot about your team and your culture of your staff, not just your studio, but like your staff culture. Like it's interesting because like once I kind of like thought about that, I was like, I wouldn't want to do that, but it would take a really special studio and a special studio owner.
Oh,
You know
thank
what I'm
you.
saying? To be in that position again. So that's amazing.
Thank you. Well, and the other pieces too, like I haven't truly actively been in the classroom other than some babies in a long time. Like I just because the business
Yeah.
needed my attention. Like you make those decisions, right?
Mhm.
So I, I also feel like then, so like people like a Sandy, people like a Heidi who love teaching and are super creative and they love being in the classroom. It's not that I don't love it. They don't want to deal with the business. Like,
Yeah.
do you know what I mean?
Oh,
So
yes.
it made it a really good fit. I just going to address one of the questions. My instructors do a ton of privates too. But I like, you know what? Sometimes, guys, when teachers go and teach at other studios, they realize that they have a better deal with you too. There's that other piece to it too. You know what I mean? My daughter, for a couple of years, she went to college in New York City and stayed there and taught in a few, studios in and around that area. And she's like, "Oh God, if I'm going to do this full time, I need to come back home because." Like it's just different, right? It doesn't mean it's bad, it's good, it's just different.
Yeah.
Um, and it just works for us. I know a lot of people commented on the getting through COVID and seeing my teachers like mop the stage. We had so much fun. It was like we just had fun, and someone's like, "How'd you get them to do that?" I'm like, I don't know that I needed to ask them.
I'm
Mm.
going to call it trickle down joy.
Mm.
Okay, because wait, a second ago I laughed at something you said to Melissa because I love to watch her face.
Yeah.
When you give Melissa a compliment,
I saw that. Yeah. And she went back in her chair like.
I know the look, so I always give her compliments.
Let's watch Melissa squirm. I'm not, do you know what? I'm not a center of attention person. Like I just, I love, like at the conferences, I like to speak. I like to do that kind of thing, but I'm not even at recital, I'm not a lover of, it's not that I can't take a compliment because I do appreciate it, but it's not my desire to be the center of it. It just isn't and I don't think anyone's desire is that, but that's not my comfort zone. How's that?
Yeah.
Without going any further, I do think it's some people's desire,
Yeah,
Melissa,
true.
Oh,
but
okay.
that
Right.
is a different show.
Okay.
We have a long question here. I'm going to put
Okay.
it up and let's see. How do you manage to keep your brand separate, if that makes sense? I love the philosophy and I love the openness, but as far as branding your product, why come to ex-wife's wife? Oh,
No, he went like XY studio, like her
oh,
studio, rather than the one down the street who also has that teacher maybe guest teaching. Yeah.
I guess I feel like for our kids and our brand, if you will, one of our faculty may go up the street and do a guest class, or even teach. I mean, I've had teachers teach in the next town over once. Actually, one of my ballet teachers does. She teaches at a studio the next town over one day, and for us 3 days. I guess I feel like we're a package deal, and it never package deal meaning all these great people in one building, and I don't fear that. And I guess I feel like if one of my kids goes into that studio and likes that, is more comfortable with that culture, maybe that's better. There just hasn't been a lot of kids that leave. We have a really nice ballet school up the street. Saturday mornings, ton of my kids go take point there so they can get 2-point classes a week. We don't have it in our schedule. A lot of my kids do Nutcracker with that same studio. No one's changed. I feel like from the parents' perspective too, they're loving that I give them, the kids, that freedom to do that too. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't have a problem that one of my kids goes up the street and takes an extra. Who doesn't want their kids to take an extra ballet class?
Yeah. And you're saying that you don't have enough space currently on your schedule. Like your schedule is that full to not be able to offer that second
point. And I don't have, in honestly, if I were to be upfront, like, I don't have enough kids that would want to take a second to make it worthwhile to me. And I have a great relationship with that teacher. Like, we sometimes differ in philosophies. She might think one of my kids is ready to go on point and I disagree. And it'll land with my decision, let's just say. Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, no, you can't do, so that kind of thing. But it's worked. It's just worked for us historically. It's really worked for us. Yeah.
I have a question. So can I ask, how many studios do you have in your facility?
5.
And then how many classes, Melissa, do you offer a week?
We offer 135, I think.
Okay. So a lot of your teachers, I'm sure, it's interesting because I think the size of your studio allows you that if a teacher is like, I want another night, you're like, okay, what night?
Yes and no.
Really?
Here's the thing. My teachers don't leave. Do you know what I mean? Like, so a few years ago, I think, I've talked about this a few times on different things, but we started doing this 6 teacher in. So like, we have 5 dance rooms and I pay 6 teachers to be in the building. So through COVID, it was awesome. Yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to say, listen up, everyone, because this is really cool. This point that Melissa's about to make.
Yeah. So we always have that extra body. Through COVID, it was awesome because inevitably someone was always out. So we didn't even have to get stressed about, how are we going to get a sub? Oh no, Susie's here, 6 teacher in, she'll jump in and fill in for the teacher. The other really cool thing about it though is, if there's a full house and we have all 5 instructors in, that 6 teacher will go in and assist another full teacher. So now this classroom has 2 teachers in it. Yep. The kids are learning from both. The teachers are learning from each other, which they love. Like, I can't tell you how many times like Sandy came out and said, oh my gosh, I'm learning so much from, Molly or Roshni, and like they're working together. And so there's a lot of classes that have been assigned that way. We have our 2 most advanced jazz levels on Wednesday nights. There are 4 teachers on board. So like they might stay separate. There are 2 teachers in the room because there's like 25 kids in there. So like maybe Sandy's doing a warm up, but Jacqueline is going around the room correcting their warm-up technique. Does it cost me extra money? 100% it does. But at the end of the day, is it worth it? Because there have been several Wednesday nights where 2 of them are out. And now I've already got 2 people in and we put all the kids together, which is also an awesome thing. Yeah. But I think maybe that goes to why we had such camaraderie anyways, because we worked,
we're building relationships. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah. And so, next year is going to be an interesting year because I have a couple girls that are, one's going back to school. So now she has less hours. One just got her doctorate. She's still going to be on staff, but has less hours. So now, but I think I already found my next 6th teacher, which is one of our alum that's graduating and doesn't know what she wants to do. So she'll be 6th teacher in and she'll learn from the game plan is to rotate her. So she is like exposed to every single one of the faculty members. And
I tell you, Melissa, I'm doing that this fall. I already spoke to one of my alumni. Was supposed to just run the desk on Fridays, and then my mini hip hop company ended up being 21. And I was like, just go in the classroom, assist, and she was on senior hip hop line, like go in there. She's going to school. She wants to be a teacher. And then she wants to teach dance at night. So she was super stoked about it. And she's learned so much. And I literally just approached her about the fall and I was like, what is your game plan? Are you going to be at Temple? Are you going to be virtual? She's like, I need a year virtual. I just want to get some gen eds done before I go to Temple and study dance. And I said, okay. I'm like, well, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she said, I want to be a teacher during the day and I want to teach dance at night. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to help you do that. And she was like, what?
Awesome.
I was like, I want you to run the desk on Fridays, jump into that one class, but let's pick another night where you'll come in and you can jump from Brittany's class with the babies, and then you'll go to acro in the back, and then you'll go into maybe leaps, turns, and jumps. Because here's the thing, I want to invest in her because, like you're saying, if someone's out that night or I need a backup, she knows how to do it. And she literally, it was so sweet. She's very close to one of my teachers and who she co-teaches with on Fridays. And she's like, I feel like this is the start of like my future. Like,
I love it.
What it is, but I'm so excited for it. And that teacher just like, just so you know. And I was like, that's like amazing. That's what I want. And like, she came to my studio. So she's invested in the culture. She understands it. So it's like, what better staff to have than someone who's going through our programs, Right.
Yep. So, I would say too, aside from the studio owners, almost all the other staff members are former MHDC students.
Wow.
I don't have to even think that long. And I have a couple of them that just come in Saturday mornings. They work their full-time jobs. They've graduated college, and I'm like, you still going to stick with absolutely. Like, it's just family for them, and a diversion from what they do in their normal week. One's a social worker, and she's like, I get to work with kids on one level there, but then I come here and it's joyful stuff. And it's
the word I was going to say, it's joy. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So actually, the more I'm sitting here talking to you guys, it's every single person is either former studio owner or an alum. So they get it. And I'm always hesitant, I'll be honest with you, to bring in others, but I do. It just because I've been spoiled so far,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. My studio that I went to growing up, unfortunately, she closed after COVID. Half of my staff is alumni from my home studio. Because we're not at the point at Libra where, I mean, I have some alumni, but now we're getting to the point where the alumni are going for dance or like a lot of them go off. They're like, I'm going to Florida, I'm going to California, I'm going to Atlanta. So they don't stay around where I am.
Right.
Fine. But yeah, when I look at my staff, 4 of us are from Anna Marie's, and it's like, and I think to myself, why is that? But I was like, because their culture is very much a part of what mine is. So when they stroll in, they understand that everyone matters and appropriate costuming and music. Like, it just teamwork. We all work together. There's no jealousy. Like, there's just that we all understand each other. So I'm looking forward to the point, though, when I can start pulling in more alumni, because I think that would be exciting.
Yes, it is fun. It is fun.
Melissa, what would you say is the biggest change in studio ownership from your beginning days to now?
You know what? I bet everyone on here is thinking the same thing. The parent culture is different. I think that's the biggest change. I think I've said this since day one. I mean, I remember at a conference 10, 12, 15 years ago, you asked me to sit on a competition owner panel because I was the only one who thought, not only, but one of the few who thought differently. I have 4 children of my own. I'm not an advocate of let's give everyone a trophy because they showed up. I'm just not. And I'm not just talking competition dancers. I'm talking you earn certain things. And I think parents across the board, and I see that my oldest daughter is a high school teacher, and some of the times we share different emails we might share from people, and those are these types of emails you'd never would have gotten 34 years ago. People were we didn't have email back then, but people were a lot more realistic about their children's abilities and what they should earn versus what they should be given. And I think that's, really the biggest challenge. I feel like for me, definitely the biggest challenge I had. I feel like we all, we could talk about this for years too. Social media is a double-edged sword. You see more and more, I get more and more emails or phone calls about, Susie was left out of a party because they see their friends are all at a party. And I'm like, that has nothing to do with me.
Right.
Those types of issues that come up. I think there's a huge difference between today and pre-COVID in terms of the kids, what they can handle and what they can't.
Yes.
I was just talking to a group of kids yesterday and I'm like, you all understand, like, so my youngest daughter graduated 6 years ago. So it's not that long ago. So maybe 6 to 10 years ago, older dancers were here. They all assisted. So they'd assist 3 hours a day and dance 4. They all were at the studio from 4 to 9:30. We don't even end at 9:30 anymore because it's too late now for everyone. We end no later than 9. And but these kids, I said I said to one of the parents, look, I'm not saying I want your kid here every day for 6 hours, but what I'm saying to you is those kids 6 to 10 years ago figured out how to time manage. Yeah. When your daughter's coming to me every single week at 6 p.m. telling me she has too much homework, and I'm a real education, that comes first, it's also telling me she's not managing her time well. Like there is, when I think about those kids back then that could stay till 9:30, my culture here, we breed really smart kids. I don't know what it is. They're just the 1 year they're smarter than the next and smarter. It's just crazy. So, and I'm not poo-pooing that sometimes I will say to them, I know you're going to have a night every once in a while that you're overloaded. I get that. But every week, if you're having a problem with this, then you're not managing time. And I feel like that's such a big lesson we send, whether it be, it's not just comp kids I'm talking about, any kid, it's part of learning that time management thing. But the other part it could be is that some of our younger kids are being overloaded by their parents with 100 activities instead of just a few. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know.
I'm just going to say something really sarcastic.
Yeah.
If we pulled the phones, the computers, all those other things out, they'd have plenty of time.
But they would start to twitch, Ree. They wouldn't know what to do with their hands.
They would. But that's why we were in the studio 6 days a week, yes. Meaning we could get the homework done. I gotta say, I'd fake getting the homework done. It really was my secret back then, look like I was doing it. But we were able to be in the studio, keep up with what it was that we needed to do, our responsibility. Yeah. I think the rest of the time that a child is like that, we haven't distracted them with school or dance. That other time is spent
on that. Yeah, and I'm looking at some of these comments. I mean, you're right. I am so, not having a valid Victorian because kids are going to have hurt feelings. Oh my gosh. I don't know. That's part of and not getting their national honor cords or their cords because they had such good grade. My concern is beyond this. You have to compete for a job. You have to learn to be able to, and the other part is I'm going back to making my older kids, whether it be, kids who come once a week or other kids, we're going to have once a month, either, public speaking or interviews, because it used to be a long time ago, to get into our company, you had to have an interview. And I meant company, not our comp kids, but our 12 kids that were a company, and they had to sit for an interview. And back in the day when I had a lot of kids do DMA, they had to do interviews. One of my dancers is now a foreign diplomat, and
wow.
Yeah. And she speaks. And when she speaks, I said, oh my gosh, I'm so proud of you. And she goes, where do you think I learned that from? Do you know what I mean? And I'm like, oh, interesting. Sorry, my phone. My phone's ringing too, but it's the studio one. I can't shut it off. Sorry, guys. But yeah, I just think I'm nervous. I'm scared, for everyone.
Oh, let us leave you a message, Melissa.
I'm so sorry. I was trying to mute it and I can't even figure out how to mute it. So anyways,
I come to class tonight.
I know, right? Yeah, no. But I think, an interesting, little fun fact. So last weekend, I think one of the things too, during COVID, we gave so much grace to the kids, for attendance. And we gave so much grace because a lot of kids we all know are struggling. Some of them are struggling mentally. And I empathize with that. But now we're 3 years out. It's time for us to try to get back to our same expectations if we're not already there.
Yep.
And so my ballet teacher said to me the other night, I sat all the kids down and I read each of their names and told them how many absences they had. Not in a, she's super nice. And so not in a, she wanted them to understand, you may not get that you haven't been here, but in our highest level ballet classes, some kids missed 12 ballet class or that particular ballet class that year. And so much of it is because before we used to, if you missed 2, then I got a report and then I reached out and, said to mom, okay, this isn't cool. She wasn't sick. You know what I mean? I don't want you here if you got strep throat or whatever, but, and that was an eye opener for me. And so I'm having a big powwow next month with all of the team parents. And I'm going to be like, hey, we need to get back to expectations of before COVID. We have to, and that's part of the deal. And I do your child no favor at letting them get away with stuff.
Yeah.
Melissa,
it's scary. And it's also like, I feel there's this shock too when we get to competition. And it's not all about winning. I'm not saying that.
No.
You want to go up there and you want to look prepared. You want to feel confident. If you're in a large group, if you're missing 2 or 3 girls or 1 dancer consistently, no, the whole dance is not going to look polished.
No,
it's not. So it's like, if you want us to give them the best and to make them look their best, then that teamwork, they have to fulfill their obligation as a team member. You know what I mean? They have to show up. They have to be there. They have to put in the work, because you're not getting that platinum plus and, second or first overall, and you're missing 12 ballet classes. And I mean, if you are, you're really lucky. And that's a great choreographer. But I mean, odds are you're not going to be doing as well as you could. And we say it's not all about that, and it isn't. But I also, I walked into my senior girls yesterday and I could tell they went on, so they did their hip hop routine. It looked okay. There were some visual things that I was like, oh, she tripped that. Oh, that looked a little. And when my company director came down, she goes, yeah, they're off. I walked up the steps. I'm like, everyone get in the hallway, get down, give me 50 crunches. They're like, Miss Laura. I'm like, 4 bot must front, 4 side. And I looked at the moms, and their moms all looked at me. I said, I've worked too hard on this routine to go out there and them not shine. I didn't do my job. I'm like, so I know that maybe they had a bad night, or maybe they didn't, sleep well. We got to learn how to rally. Right now is the moment that all those weeks and months of work, we need to rally. And great, they went out there and they did fantastic. But I bet you if I didn't go up there and get hard on them, it wouldn't have ended up that way. I know it wouldn't have, because I felt their energy in the first dance, and I was just like, the kids need that. And I feel like maybe Laura last year, coming out of COVID, only second year, maybe I wouldn't have gone up there and been like the drill sergeant that I was, yesterday. But I was like, no, I'm like, we're, like you're saying, we're 3 years out, and you're expecting of yourself to do well. Well, this is the level in order to reach that. This is the expectations you have to set for yourself,
It's true.
I want to say this, though. It's a little bit back. Melissa, you were more making this point. If we were going to miss something, and it could be dance or it could be a musical or whatever we were doing as a kid, the adults would say, you're letting down the other kids. That, I don't believe, is at the forefront of parents' minds today. It's their child and what's best for their child. Now, I'm not saying they're not good people. I'm just saying that's where our culture is today. Whereas we could not show up for that rehearsal, because if we didn't know that the arm got changed on 8 to up here and we hit the stage on Sunday and we did it wrong, we wouldn't want our kid to be the one who did it wrong.
Correct.
Yep. It's true. And it's interesting too, for the first time, and it's not just intensive kids or comp kids. For the first time ever in 34 years, I have 6 different once a week classes that have to come tomorrow and Wednesday for like we typically would be closed this week, and we have dress rehearsal Thursday, Friday. Like they wouldn't have normal classes Monday to Wednesday, but we have 6 or 7 different classes coming in because there was such an issue with attendance that they need an extra rehearsal before we get to dress rehearsal. And I've never had to do that before. So I was, 2 weeks ago writing emails due to, attendance concerns. We need to hold an extra rehearsal for your child and for your child's class. And it's just never been that way, even with kids who are once a weekers. It's just I don't know, it's an interesting phenomena. But like I said, talking even to my daughter, who's a school teacher, she's like, Mom, I'll get kids asking me, oh, well, the deadline was 6 p.m. Can I hand it in tomorrow? No, the deadline was 6 p.m. Like not understand. And and I don't know. I just feel like our role truly is about teaching those types of lessons. And maybe I'll be singing, on my soapbox and no one's listening and in my studio, but I think I am circling back to really doing accountability where the kids who choose to do company, I mean, they have to have accountability more so. Your once a weekers, what are we going to do? Kick them out? I mean, we're not going to. Business is business, right? But we can be encouraging, like, for your kids to feel the best they can be on stage. And interestingly enough, the once a weekers, if Susie's absent 2 weeks in a row, I'm getting, I get notes from the teachers and I call immediately that day. So at least those people, have a little bit of notice kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I'd say this. If we are doing our job for the majority, they will want to come to dance. I'm just making that point. If we show that we're passionate about what we do and we look every kid in the eye and give them a high five, it's the relationship a teacher has with the child that will make it so the child or the mom will say, you have dance at 3:00, get yourself ready, rather than I don't feel like going today.
Yeah. And I do think too, right now, especially the weather's finally nice. Yeah. And, let's face it, for me, it's a little harder to come in the door. Right. Well, it's true. Right. And I just think, but it's interesting you say that, Reed, because we were having some concerns with, again, and it's not all about company, but our company level kids and then our teen levels. And when I say teen, I'm talking like this great group of teenagers that have been with me since they were 3. They all take 3 classes a week, but they're not intensive dancers, right? So we were having, like, in both circumstances, same age kids, all high schoolers, they just really flat, and they're just like, there's no effort and there's no whatever. So the teachers and I were talking about it, and I said, okay, I need each of you to look at yourself and say, am I honestly bringing it into the classroom? Thinking about who they were, I felt like that was not even a question I needed to ask. However, so how are we going to get through to these kids? And in the past 4 weeks, we've been doing just different things. And I'll tell you something, they're pulling their hair out, like bringing in something fun and something different and something this and something that. And it hasn't kicked in yet. So I also do wonder, and it could be, and I feel like it's, like these kids who started high school online, or like you say, like I saw someone's comment, or spending too much time on TikTok. Like, I'll come out in the waiting room and they're having a blast doing TikTok videos, but in the classroom, they're just kind of meh,
right.
So it's, but I do think that if you have a teacher saying to you, I have kids who aren't giving me anything or whatever, then you have to look internally and think, am I giving them what they need? Or, I mean, the same as an owner. If I feel like the teachers are just kind of flatlined, just kind of going through the motions, then is that because I'm not giving them what they need too? So you always have to question, you have to totally question yourself. I'll say that I know this year we had talked about it before we came on, that it was the hardest year for me yet. And I feel like for a little bit, I was dropping the balls with staff. Like I was listening, but not listening close enough, if you will. And finally I had to say to them, when you walk through the office and say something to me, I need you to write it to me. I need you to, because I'm not hearing you clear enough, because you're bothered that this didn't happen. And I didn't get that from the walk through the office. I didn't get that through, you said this. I didn't get that you meant you needed this. So, I had to, and I had to look at them and say, you know what? I've hit a wall. The fighting through COVID, fighting to keep studio open, fighting to make sure everyone had what they needed. And a personal loss put me in this, like, I felt like I was, I couldn't get outside my box. I couldn't get out of my own way, if you will. And I had to realize that, and then had to circle back to my staff and say, okay, I know you said it to me, but I didn't hear you. And I didn't fix it. So now I need to, now that I know that, I need you guys, to make sure you reiterate. If you say something to me, reiterate it in an email. And if I don't circle back to it in a timely manner, please remind me, because it's clear that I'm hitting a wall. You know what I mean? And I think when you're, that's the other part, like you say, how do you get your staff to be so supportive? I think admitting you're either wrong or off course, and being honest and upfront about that once you discover it, because let's face it, sometimes we don't even realize it. And once we discover it, I think being honest with them, it makes them supportive of you, and what they want to help you in that, I guess, is a good way to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think for them to see us as human.
Yes.
Too.
100%.
Like we're like the captains of the ship, but sometimes, like in rocky waters, we get a little discouraged too,
Agreed.
Authenticity is the word.
Yes.
So we're, I don't know, way over time again.
Oh, sorry. I didn't.
It's how we roll, Melissa. It's how we roll.
Okay.
I don't know. Ever since I've been saying to Laura, I want to cut these a little shorter. They each get a little longer. So I don't know. I think I'm going to say, I think I want to do a 2-hour one, and we'll get done in a half hour. I think I need to reverse. And here's my own word, psychologize this.
Yep.
Melissa.
I love it.
You're a great guest because you're so real, and like this last word, authentic. Mm-hmm. Keep doing what you're doing. I look to you and say, I want to be like Melissa when I grow up.
Wow. No, that's a huge compliment. Thank you. You know what? I realize I can only be me, right? I can only be me. And that's just the way it is.
That's a tip for everybody, really, is to be you and do what it is where your passion lies. Don't try to be someone else or emulate what someone else has created.
Sure.
Awesome, Laura. Thank you so much. Thank you, Melissa. Thank you all for tuning in for this supersized coffee talk, and we'll see you again soon. Take care.
Bye, guys.
Bye.